I'm not just going to talk about Palm Sunday, because I think it's useful to look back and find out who Jesus was in the first place, and also to look forward, because we're not meeting again until after Easter, and I don't want to leave this story half told, so we're going to look at the whole thing. There are actually hundreds of references to donkeys in the Bible. I'm not going to go through them all. The one about Mary riding a donkey into Bethlehem when she was going to go and have her baby isn't actually mentioned in the Bible. She travelled to Bethlehem, but she didn't necessarily have a donkey. It's quite likely that she did have a donkey, because that is how people got around in those times and used them for transport. So she may well have had one, but we don't know. The talking donkey that you told us about belonged to Balaam, who was a prophet, and I'm going to read you his story, because I think it's absolutely fascinating that there was a donkey in the Bible that actually talked. So he was a prophet, and he was supposed to tell people what God said, but he would often just tell the king what the king wanted to hear. He wouldn't bother about what God had said, he just wanted to tell the king what the king wanted to know. So God used this donkey to help stop him doing that. So I'll read you the story. Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the Moabite officials. But God was angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, it turned off the road into a field. Balaam beat it to get it back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path through the vineyards with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it, so he beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and he was angry and beat it with his staff. The Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to make you beat me these 3 times?" Balaam answered the donkey, "You have made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" "No," he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared the donkey." Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you are displeased, I will go back." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you." So he went with the officials. I think that's quite a horrible story in many ways, because he kept beating the donkey, and it was horrible. But I was also really surprised that the donkey talked to him, so that was quite surprising. But then he just answered the donkey like it was a normal conversation. And I thought that was quite strange as well. But I love that example of how God can use anything to get through to us, if only we will listen. So then we're going to move on to Palm Sunday and talk about Jesus riding into Jerusalem on the donkey. And I will read this now. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and just as you enter it, you will find a colt there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you doing this?' say the Lord needs it, and will send it back here shortly." They went and found a colt outside in the street, tied at a doorway. As they untied it, some people standing there asked, "What are you doing, untying that colt?" They answered as Jesus had told them to, and the people let them go. When they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks over it, he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, while others spread branches they had cut in the field. Those who went ahead and those who followed shouted, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our father David. Hosanna in the highest heaven. Jesus entered Jerusalem and went into the temple courts. So one of the reasons that Jesus chose to do this was that in the Old Testament, Zechariah, one of the prophets, had told people, see, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. And he chose to ride into Jerusalem to fulfill this prophecy. So all of the donkeys that we've talked about today have got a part to play in God's story. It might seem like a small part, but it was still very important. And each one of us has got a part to play in the story too. I'm going to actually talk about Christmas now, a Christmas present that I received. John and I got this from one of our friends for Christmas, and I was quite surprised. I haven't done origami for a long while, but I thought, oh, that's quite good, because we can make some origami in the craft group at the mission. And we have made some origami in the craft group at the mission. I didn't open it actually at Christmas. It got until January when I had COVID, and we were stuck at home, and so we thought, oh, we'll open it and we'll have a look at some of this origami. Can anybody guess why I was surprised when I opened this? What do you think it is? It is a puzzle.
Yes.
It was all wrapped in cellophane, so I unwrapped all the cellophane, all ready. I thought when it said 1,000, it meant there were 1,000 ideas of things you could make. But it meant that there were 1,000 pieces inside the puzzle. As you can tell, we haven't actually opened the puzzle yet. But that is an example of how things are not always what they seem. And some of the things that we're talking about today are not what they seemed. Jesus was born in a manger, which is not the kind of place you'd expect a king to be born in. He was going to be a king, but then they killed him and he died on a cross. And I was going to do a clever illustration, but I managed to leave it at the mission. But what I've got is a star, the star that was over the stable, and when you fold in the edges of the star, you then are left with a cross. So if anyone asks me when I'm at the mission, I can show you that illustration. The Jews were also really looking forward to when the Messiah came. They had the Messiah predicted in the Old Testament. The Romans had not been very nice to the Jews, and the Jews knew that the Messiah was coming to save them. They therefore expected Jesus to come and fight and lead them in a fight against the Romans, and that's how they were going to make him king. But instead, when he arrived in Jerusalem, he went straight to the temple. This is not what the Jews had expected, and they were disappointed. 1 week later, he was crucified, and then they think, well, that really is the end. However, the crucifixion was not the end, and instead, on the third day, he rose again. The tomb was empty, and he is alive. Last month, when I met you guys all, I told you about going to Bath. I told you that John and I were going to go to Bath, and how I'm quite good at packing too much. Do you know what? I actually forgot stuff. Quite essential stuff, like toothpaste. And we had to actually go shopping and buy some toothpaste, despite the fact that I usually pack way too much for everything. But never mind. We had a really lovely weekend, and we really enjoyed walking around the Roman baths, as well as Bath Abbey. Bath Abbey is a really big church in the centre of Bath, and it's got lots and lots of stained glass windows. I even ended up getting a booklet, which is quite a thick booklet with all the stained glass windows in, because there's so many. Are you gonna? Yeah, Joseph's going to put a picture up at the moment. Oh yeah. So this is the east window, and on your tables you've actually got a picture of the east window. I've made it a bit bigger for you. because it really stripped my attention. It is huge. It starts really high up. You can see that from my photograph. I couldn't even get the top in without leaning back quite a long way. It goes right up to the ceiling, and it's got 56 scenes from Jesus' life. And it tells the whole story of Jesus' life. The window is so high that it's not easy to see the detail of the pictures from below. But the purpose of the window is as a reminder to each of us to live and tell the good news of Jesus from the Bible, which is then retold in the panels of the window. The way that they designed the window, they put the most important parts of Jesus' life in the middle panels. So what I've got is a list of what were in those middle panels. So it started with his birth, which I would say was quite important. And it's starting at the bottom, it goes up. When the next bit was when the three kings visited and predicted that he would be a king, that he would be God, and that he would die. The next one is Jesus' baptism. The one after is his Sermon on the Mount, which is a very famous sermon, including many guidelines for our lives. Then you've got the Transfiguration, which is when he changed his appearance and his face shone to show his full glory. Then you've got the Last Supper, when he ate with his disciples for the last time before he was crucified. And then you've got his crucifixion. And the Abbey had an information thing next to it and said that the most important part of this is the crucifixion, because it unlocks the meaning of all the others. Jesus' death and how important it is, because without that, we wouldn't have life. We wouldn't be able to have a relationship with God. And therefore, that is absolutely essential. But it doesn't end there. The last of the important panels shows his resurrection. The fact that he didn't stay dead. He is alive. And that is something that we can celebrate every day, not just on Easter Sunday. So we're now going to watch a video which will show the whole story using finger paints. Wasn't it? And that was a really, really happy bit of the story. When Jesus came into Jerusalem, we were all really happy. But when they decided to kill Jesus, they were really sad. But then when we find out that he didn't stay dead, then we were much happier again. Why did he have to die? When Adam and Eve didn't do what God wanted in the start of the Bible, in Genesis, that's when things started to go wrong. Noah's Ark was a way to keep the good people and wipe away the wrong things. But again, things went wrong. And we all do things wrong every day. God is perfect, and he wants to have a relationship with us. We can't do this while we keep getting things wrong, except because of Jesus. Jesus hasn't done anything wrong. He died so that we can be friends with God. He died in our place so that we can have a relationship with God. The fantastic thing for us is not only do we get that relationship with God, but Jesus still lives as well.